Okay, I'm back. Some technical difficulties there. Okay, so again, Scott with Apex AR, and this is our flagship release, Apex Scout. I've got it pulled up and the app is open. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a few of the main screens of the app. Then we'll talk about the user settings and how to set some things up. And then we'll talk about 4 key components of the app and some of the things that really make this a good safety tool. So bear with me. As you can see, I've got the app up, and this is what I call the home page as labeled at the bottom. And there's actually 4 sub pages. You've got the home page, you have the map page, which is used for planning. It has more functions than the home page. You've got the track page, and then you've got the settings page. And the settings page has quite a few options on it. We'll come back to that. One administrative note, if you're using the app and you're following along, we're in version 1.0.1. So again, version 1.0.1. There's a few small differences between version 1 and this one. So this will give you 99% of the functionality that version 1 had. So either way should be fine. So here we go. So on the home page, if you notice, the first thing, you got the blue user icon in the center. And something different on our app than other mapping and trail apps have is I have a vertical scaling bar on the left side. And if you notice, the 0 is parallel with the blue user icon, and it goes vertical to the top. And at this scale, it shows a 1/4 mile distance with the altitude of where you are above that. If you pan out, or if you zoom out rather, if you notice, the ranges change on this scale. And so what this allows you to do is it allows you to quickly put your user icon at the 0 and put something in front of you, and you can measure the distance approximately from where you are to where you're going. So that's pretty helpful when you're trying to figure out how far ahead something is in front of you. And this functionality is also on the map planning page. And to recycle or to recenter the map page, you're going to simply press this center key on the right side, the button, and I'm recentered. Okay, we'll go through the button since I've already touched on that on the right side. If you notice, there's a flag button or a mark button, and I'm not going to get too deep into the buttons, just a general overview for now. But this is how you can do some functions on the home page, and some of these functions are also on the map page again. So you can set your recovery point, you can add a waypoint, you can add an alert, or you can set a go-to, which would carry you to that location. So we'll come out of that. And below that is a crosshairs, and this is a nearest function. And when you have team members listed here at the top, it'll display them. And if you go to your waypoints and you have any waypoints, it'll show any waypoints that you have listed in a list there below. And then you can go in and you can go to that waypoint or those team members. We'll close that. The next function where the camera is, as I call that the snapshot function, the snapshot function. And if you press that, you've got a couple different options here. You have a screenshot and a camera. And the buttons do exactly what they say they will. A screenshot of what you're looking at, so it'll show the map, everything embedded in the map, but not your alert above and the emergency below. And then it'll show any icons that you have appearing on the map page. And on the camera, it'll give access to your camera. You can take a picture. And the good thing about these two functions is once you utilize them, it'll store that picture to your film roll automatically. In your iPhone, and then you can share that with somebody in your contact list. So it doesn't have to be a team member or somebody that has the app. And along with the picture, you'll also be providing them with the grid, the altitude, and the time and date that the picture was taken. And some other things on the home page. If you notice at the top here, it says all clear with a green border. This is one of the sentinel functions of Apex Scout, and this is where your alerts will render themselves to let you know that there's an alert of some sort, whether it's an animal alert, a trail alert, or a weather alert. And how you get deeper into this is you double tap on the square, And now your alert screen comes up. And if there were pending alerts or ongoing alerts, they would list all of them in a list here. And at the top, you can click wildlife and it would show everything below. You can go to weather and it would show any weather alerts like lightning, high winds, heavy snow. And then you can move over and then you can select trail and it would show trail alerts also. Now keep in mind, these alerts are only alerts that are rendered by the server, not other people, and nothing that you enter into the screen yourself. So just keep that in mind also. So we'll go done. We're back out to here, and you can slide this over, and then you come to the weather. And this is a weather forecast that's very localized to your location, not just a general area. And you can double tap this weather, and you can go a 6-hour block with 2-hour intervals. You can go to 12 hours and 4-hour blocks, or correction, 3-hour blocks. And then you double tap it again, and now you've got a 24-hour forecast, 8-hour blocks. So you could say, hey, today the weather's going to be this, tonight the weather's going to be that, and tomorrow day the weather's going to be whatever it shows. And then you double tap and it goes back to 6-hour again. You slide that over, and this here is what I call the quick nav tile. And what this does is, it's a compass, of course, and it gives you quick access to be able to navigate with a compass and a map at the same time. And on the right-hand side here, whichever way you're moving, it'll give you a direction, and then the grid below it will show you where you are at that time. And you can change that grid format in user settings, and we'll get to that later. And this is just a timer. So from this screen, it's just a simple timer. You click it once and it starts the time down. Click it again, it pauses it. Double tap and it resets. Now this also is tied to the tracking function, which we'll cover another time. And then a simple clock. Of course, everybody has watches and they have times on their iPhones, but this is just another way to tell time. And there's also a hidden tile to the right of this, and I'll show you that later. And when you select mountain bike in the user settings, it'll have another tile appear that's specific for mountain bike riding and information you can use there. So I'll go back, and when you start the app, it's always going to default to the alert app. Okay, you come down here to the bottom here and you have the emergency recovery button. That's a separate function we're going to dig into here in a few minutes. But for now, just keep in mind that the emergency recovery is on your home page, or the one that you use when you're moving around. And this is where you'll access that function. You'll initiate it and you'll also cancel it. And we'll get to that. The next thing I want to get to is the map, or planning, as it's labeled at the top, map at the bottom, so map planning. Again, you have the vertical measuring scale on the left with altitude at the top. And of course that's in feet, and this is in miles, and all those settings can be changed for different units if you're European and you're visiting and you're used to something else. We'll start on the right. You've got the, if you're out of orientation and the map is oriented north, you click that button and the map will orient to the north. You come below that and you select your different map styles. So currently we're set on satellite and streets, but you can go outdoors, which is more of this with some topographic information. And then you can go to just satellite. And the one I like to use is satellite and streets, because it gives you the satellite and it gives you stuff off of other sources to tell you where you are and to orient yourself better. And then below that, it's a signpost. It's also your waypoint and recovery point directory. So when you save waypoints, on my plan, I can get up to 250, which is the Pro plan, and a recovery point. We'll show you how to set that in a moment, but there's always only going to be available one recovery point in the app at any given time. That way it eliminates confusion. So that's where you'll find that. And next is your track and route log. So this is where your saved tracks will present themselves. And to the right of that, if you have any routes that you have built, and we'll come back on that another time, then this is where the routes would show. And then at the top right, you can build your routes off of that. And this is how you build your routes. And it's very intuitive. Name your route, select your waypoints below it, hit confirm, and then you'll have a new route and the date and everything that goes with it. And then you can select the route and you can travel along it. And then on tracks, we'll come to that in a minute, and I'll show you how this loads. Okay, the one below that is going to be your recenter compass. So if we're off of center and you click that, it does bring you back there. Below that is the Go To button. And this is just a way that you can enter a grid, whether it's MGRS or lat long, or you can search for a known place. You can hit go, and it'll take you to it. And we'll get to that when we're building routes and stuff later, but this is how you would do that, and this would bring up a large compass, and then you could navigate to it. We'll get to that function more in detail later. And below that is the mark or the flag button, as some people like to call it. And again, we have the same functions. You can set your recovery point, you can add a waypoint, you can add an alert or a go-to, and we'll cover that in depth later. Okay, so that's your map planning page. There's no hidden functions. Everything is on the right side there to keep it out of the way. And then at the bottom, the next page we're going to talk about is the track page. So two things you're going to see here. First, you're going to see a simple track information queuing up here at the top: time, distance, speed, and elevation gain. And I'm going to show you that if we were going to start a track, so let's step off from the trailhead or a walk or a run. Of course, it starts recording with time. Your distance goes here, your speed, elevation, and then your steps are registering below. And as you move about, this will count up and it'll continue until you stop. And then from here, this goes back to one of the functions I was telling you about. So during an active track, if you double click the screen, well, here we go. So if you scroll over, okay, so there's your track right there. So your track that you activated is showing on your home screen right there. And if you notice, it's 0 miles an hour. We haven't traveled any because I'm sitting here, and there's your time. But if you hit it once, you can pause the track from here. You can restart it from here. And if you double click it, it carries you back to your main track page. So now that you're on the main track page, let's say that you're finished with your track or your course that you're going to walk. At the bottom, you just hit stop. And then here you can save track or discard. For this, we're going to save the track, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then if you notice there, it tells you when it was saved. So there's the track function. And we'll go back and I'll show you how that track looks real quick. We'll go here to the little guy. And there's the track that we just built. Today's date, the time, 0 feet for 1 minute and 8 seconds, and 0 feet of elevation. And then if we want to look at that, you just click the map next to it, and it'll take us to where the track was. The other thing to keep in mind when you are utilizing the track function, and I'll X out of that right here. When you're using the track function and you have an active track, if you're moving, you can go over here to the home page, and this is what you should be using anyways, and it'll actually show your track below you, so it'll show the track that you're leaving behind. And you can also go to user settings and show the same thing in the map page. And you can also turn on former tracks or past tracks to show on your map planning page, so you can go reference them also. So there's the track function. And the last major subpage is going to be the settings, and there's a lot to talk about on this. So as you notice at the top, I'm signed in there. So I'll scroll down there. There's my profile. And if you click that, so there's my name. I'm on the proactive subscription. And my primary activity is hiker, and I'll show you how to change that in just a moment. The next up is going to be your emergency contacts. Now, keep in mind, emergency contacts is available to everybody at all tiers. The only difference is the number of contacts that you can put in here. And for me, I put myself in here just to show. You enter the name, the phone number, the email address, and then you can enable SMS alerts or emails. And we'll talk about that function later and what that will do for you. And then you can save that, and it'll be persistent. And you can have up to 5 emergency contacts and 10 depending on the tier. Next up is going to be team members. So team members, due to safety concerns and privacy, this isn't necessarily the easiest way to add team members, but it's the safest way. And with our next update, we're going to change it and make it somewhere in the middle to where it's safe and secure and private, but at the same time, it's easier to add people. But for now, what you would do is somebody with the app, you would both generate an invite code. So they would put in my invite code, and then I would put their invite code right here with join with code, hit join. And then it would show down here who you were a team member with, and then you can just click share my location, and then whoever is in your team list will show your location at all times that you're in the app. And then if you want to stop sharing, you just simply turn that off. And there's some pictures of that on the App Store and some other videos and pictures that I posted of that. Next up is sign out and delete account. We're not going to cover that because it does exactly what it says it's going to do. Recovery point. When you build a recovery point, this is where it'll show. And we can go out and we'll build a recovery point right now. So we're going to use the map page function to do that. And for just something simple and just to show you the functionality of it, we're going to do that. We're going to set recovery point. And now you get a crosshair. Now the crosshair is persistent, and this is what works for all those different things. So we're going to make our recovery point right there. We're going to come down here to confirm. And that's what a recovery point looks like on your map. And it shows on the map page. And it shows on your home page also. So we'll go back to settings where we were. And this is the recovery point. And now the recovery point shows where that grid is to your recovery point. And it's always going to be 1. And then if you notice, you can also set manually, and you can put in a lat long or an MGRS, and depending on your settings, we'll get to in a moment. And then you hit save recovery point, and it will overwrite your last one. So it's last technology or last function. So the last thing you put in there will always be the one you have in there. So some people will use that when they get to the trailhead and they step off, or they're at their car, or they're at camp, or whatever the case may be. But it's the last thing that you put in there is the one that's going to be active. And then if you want to delete your recovery point, you simply delete it. But we're going to leave this one in here for test purposes here in a moment. So the next thing is going to be the proximity alarm. So the proximity alarm, it tells you what it does. When you're within a certain distance, 50 meters of the people in your team, you're going to have a couple things that can happen. First, you can turn the proximity alarm on or off. But for this, we're going to leave on. And then, of course, vibration and sound. And then in order to test it, we are going to hit test. And I've got my phone muted, I bet. Let's see. Okay, so the settings on my phone won't play the sound because it's plugged in, but trust me, it makes a sound and you can hear it. And so that'll tell you when you're within 50 meters of a team member, and it also tells you when you're greater than 50 meters from a team member if you're leaving them or you're at night and somebody steps away from camp. All right, the next thing is going to be the SOS strobe. And so everybody's got a flashlight on their iPhone, and you can select this for 15 or 30 seconds. 15, we'll leave it there. And basically, when you hit the start SOS strobe, your flashlight is simply going to ping SOS, which is Morse code down here below. It's just a function that you can use to have somebody help find you, whether it's daytime or nighttime. So it's available also. Then we're going to come down here, and we talked about activity profiles earlier. So here's your activity profile, one being, I have mine set for hiker. You also have a mountain bike, you have a runner, and you have even a wheelchair setting. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because our server and our algorithm that we use to help with the predictability, it determines where you're going to be and when you're going to be there. And we all know that hikers and mountain bikers and runners and wheelchair riders or wheelchair-bound people have different speeds, right? So this is important. When you select your profile, it makes the math different, and it gives you more realistic expectation of planning ahead. And I did mention the mountain bike function and the screen that it shows if you select that, so I'll show you that. So we'll select mountain bike. I'll go out to the home page, and then I'll go up here to the time or the timer. And there you go. It's a simple thing that you can mount your phone and your handlebars. As time goes on, we'll probably make this a little more detailed. But what this does is this shows you that you're going northwest at 0 miles an hour because I'm sitting still. And if you had a go-to in here, and I will tell you what, let's build one, and let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to go to, And we'll make it right there. We'll confirm. And we'll come back out. Okay, so now you have an arrow. So now you're going northwest, you have an arrow that's directly straight line to your go-to point, and you have a speed. So if you're on a mountain bike, this is something simple that you can follow along with this at the top, and your map at the bottom will be dynamic. So not only will you have visual cueing on the map, you'll have textual cueing at the top. We'll come off of that, and we're going to go back down to settings, and I'm going to go back to hiker. And then we'll back out of this. And the next is going to be unit preferences. And this is just what it sounds like. And you can look at that, elevation, temperature, coordinates. Most civilians use lat long. Most military and search and rescue use MGRS. If you're not familiar with MGRS, I'll end up offering a video about it sometime in the future, but it's worth knowing. Law enforcement, military, and search and rescue uses it, and it's good to know how to use, and it's pretty easy actually. And then your clock at the bottom, however you want to use that. And then accessibility. Here's another feature that we offer on our app, and it's for colorblind. Almost 10% of the male population in the United States are colorblind of some sort. And this just gives you the opportunity, the option of turning it on. So all users can see the colors appropriately on the map, and it just helps, it helps support safety in the field. And then the vibrations here and the text size, that's just based on whatever you have set on your iPhone settings. Okay, overlays. In overlays, we've got a lot that we can show. So at the top, user submitted reports. So these are reports that will show up on the map, but not in the alert tile. So on your map, whether it's on the home page or on the map planning page, whatever you have selected here will show up. The only exception is going to be your weather events. Your weather events might or might not show up because a weather event sometimes is over a whole area and not specifically to your location. So you may have to go into the alert page and see if it shows up there, even if it doesn't show up on the alert tile. Weather's a little bit different just because of the way the information is pulled down and the locations of people reporting it compared to where you are. And then below that, we've got all the public use boundaries in the lower 48 states. Alaska's coming, Hawaii will get there eventually, and you can just turn these on or off. And then I'll show you what these look like in a moment. And then if you scroll down, and then, something, shaded land areas. So you can turn on borders only, or you can make it to where it's shaded on the map. And then down here at the bottom, you have other things. You can list your trails, streams and rivers, trailheads and access. And the trailheads and access points are anything that the U.S. Forestry Service has listed, BLM lands, state lands, anything that we could pull off the internet and maintain currency on. We have that in this server, and it'll render on the app if you have that selected. You keep in mind that sometimes you may have to zoom in a little bit more than other times, but that's what that is for. And then map layer, save tracks. I talked about this earlier. If you have this on, this will show all your save tracks, regardless of where they are on both maps. So you can quickly navigate around the map and say, oh, there was the trail that we went down last week. Let's go back over to that. And sometimes it's easier to see it on the map and know where you are than it is to just read about it. Same with the routes. If you have a route built, this will show all the routes that you have in your route directory that I showed you earlier. We'll come out of that. Next thing is offline maps. Now everybody has access and has the ability to do offline maps. The only difference in the offline map capability is the tier that you subscribe to, and that'll restrict you to the amount of storage that you can get or map download. If you're on a pro tier, you can basically download a whole state. I've tested this. You can download the whole state of Colorado, for instance, and the map will save on your phone. And we'll talk about offline functions another time, but you do have the ability to do that, and I will show you what that looks like. So here you can download a radius around your current location. You can select a location on the map. And then if you notice at the bottom, you can select how big of an area you want to select. And it should scale appropriately. There it goes. And then it'll download. And then you go back here and download map region. And then it just tells you that, you could use a lot of data if you do that. And this is what it looks like. And I'm on cell network and I'm running my laptop off my cell phone, so it may be a little slow. There it goes. And there it is, region 1. It'll have the center grid to where you are, and then you can edit it if you want to do something with it. You can name it whatever you want. So that's just a capability that you have on the offline map stuff. Okay, so that pretty much gets us through the settings and the major orientation to the app. There's 4 different items that I'm going to talk about in depth and get into a little bit. And if I get enough feedback, I'll come back at some point and I will do an extended video on the one function and really get into the nuts and bolts of it. And I'll try to set it up to where somebody else is receiving the inputs and the data that I'm putting in my phone. And then you can see what it looks like on the receiving end and not just on the sending end. But for now, I'll just cover these from the perspective of the sender or the user that has the app. The first thing I'm going to talk about is going to be your trip planner. It's kind of common sense that if you're going to go into the backcountry or off trail, then you want to let somebody know where you're going. So the way we would do that is we're going to go to settings. And then we're going to scroll down. There's the trip planner. And I have an untitled trip, but we're going to start over here all together. So we're going to hit new trip plan. And here it is. So trip name, we'll put test 2. Why not? And then we'll start it tomorrow. So we'll go to 30. And then we'll do it in the morning. Let's see, we'll step off at 7 o'clock. 7:28 sounds good for that. Our plan return, we have it set for there it goes. So then our plan return, we're going to stay out till the next day. There it goes. And I'm going to go by myself. So solo trip, and then I'm going to go, I don't know, I'll say 12 miles. And then we can get more specific on that in a minute. Start location. And if you look down here, you can select, you can put an MGRS in there, which is a grid to where you're going, or a lat long, or you can use current location. So there it loaded in current location. And then in location, you can name the trail or where it is, and you can use current location for that too. So there, we're just going to come back and make a big loop over 24 hours. And then below that, let's save that, then we'll come back to it. Okay, so we're just going to reopen it back here. And then you can go in here and you can select the equipment that you're going to take with you. So we're going to take water for our trip overnight. Of course, we're going to need some food. It's warm. We really don't need any shelter. The weather's going to be good. We might take a little rain gear. We'll throw that on there. And then we want to have first aid. And then down here, you can enter something in the notes. So we'll put leaving car. And then attach to emergency alert. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So for now, we're going to save. And there's our test 2. And then if we wanted to share that with the people, you go here. And you can email your team, or you can text emergency contacts. And for this. So for this, I'm sending it to myself because that's who I have in there. And if you notice, this is what the trip plan looks like that you're sending out to whomever it is back at home, whether it's your wife or your child and you're sending it to your parents. And if you notice, all the information is on this text and email. It shows you the grid where you're leaving, where you're coming back to. And when this sends, this will actually give you a clickable grid for where you're starting and where you're going. And it'll let the end user that receives it click on Google Maps, and then they can see where you are. And then it shows the equipment that we're taking here, leaving car. And then it just gives good advice. If you don't hear from me by the plan return, contact 911 and give them this information. And that's what that looks like. And so you would just Click that and they get it. And that's how that would look. So that's your trip planner function. And I talked about attaching it to our emergency notification, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So we'll come out of trip planner. The next function that I'm going to talk about is going to be, I had team tracking, but I don't have anybody set up to do it with right now, so it's not really going to give a good showing of what it looks like on the map. But I did talk about the add team member function and how you put your code, they put your code into their phone and you put their code into your phone, and then it matches up. And then it will render a icon, looks like a teardrop with a person walking in it on your map. And it shows it's dynamic and it updates until you turn off your sharing or they turn their sharing off. Let's see, user waypoint. And then the last thing I'm going to really get into is going to be the emergency recovery function. And as I talked about, you can access this function from the home page. And if you notice, we have the emergency or recovery point that's still on the map that we set earlier. So that'll be the basis for the next function that we show you here. So you go to the bottom and you've got emergency recovery, and you'll simply push emergency recovery and hold. It's a 4-second hold. So if you accidentally hold it and you let go, nothing's going to happen, right? So that way you don't accidentally hold it and set it off and a lot of things happen. But if for some reason you do hold it, and I think it's almost a 4-second hold, now it goes to verify recovery. And if you don't do anything with verify recovery, watch what happens. Now it goes back. So you have to consciously and try to press both of those buttons to make the function function correctly. So we're going to do that. So we're going to hold in emergency recovery. It tells you to hold. And then we're going to verify that's what we want. Okay, so this is the big thing right now. So based on the recovery point that we had on the map, it's northwest of our location. It's on a 299-degree heading at 0.6 of a mile or a half mile away. The destination, there's the grid, whether it's MGRS or lat long to where you're going. It also gives you your grid location. And why is this important? Well, it's important because some people still navigate as a map, as a backup. I do that, and you can find yourself quickly on the map. You can lay your phone down next to it, and you can actually draw where you are. You can draw a point on your map of where you're going, draw a straight line, and it helps you orient. And then if your phone does run out of battery life, then you still have your map with the grids and the line of where you're going, and you can orient and help you get there. So this is the primary compass that it's going to give you to get there. And I'll go through the compass function, then I'll tell you what the app and the server does in the background when you press that button. So we're going to double click, double tap, and it takes you here. Now, we got the mini nav tile again, and you've got the map, so this is how we navigate, right? And if you notice here at the bottom, emergency is active. We can cancel recovery if we want, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But in the quick nav tile up here, it gives you a red needle pointer to your point, to your recovery point that you already have on the map we talked about. It shows that you're in emergency recovery mode. It gives you the heading and 0.61. So it gives you the same distance and direction as the large compass did, and it gives you the same bearing on here. So you can use this and see on your map and the needle, at the same time. And then the grid here below is the grid of where you are. So you can lay that down on the map again. You can say, okay, this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm going based on the map and the needle on the compass. So we're navigating along, and one of the functions that I told you worked in the background was the emergency notification. So we talked about your emergency contacts that you have set up. So whoever you have set up in your emergency contacts, and if you choose to share SMS or an email with them, they're going to receive a few things. And everybody in your emergency contact list will receive the same thing. So be careful. If you only want one person receiving your information, only have one emergency contact in there. If you have 5 people in there, all 5 people will get your information. What are they going to get? They're going to get sent a clickable grid of where you are, a clickable grid of where you're going, which is the recovery point. It's also going to provide the emergency contact with the weather of where you are at that time. It's going to tell them the weather that's at your recovery point at that time. It's going to give them the battery life on your phone so they know how much time that you've got on your phone to navigate or get you through the night or use your strobe. And if you had it selected, it's also going to give them your trip planner so they'll get their equipment list. Why is that important? So let's say that you're out for an extended amount of time and your phone eventually goes dead. Whoever you send this information to on the emergency contacts can provide all that information to emergency personnel to help recover you quicker if they decide to go out and look for you. So they'll have where you were, where you're going. You should be going in a general direction toward your recovery point, and they'll also be able to see the equipment and supplies that you have with you, and that'll help them help you a little bit better. So those are the two major things that happen when you press emergency recovery. So let's say that we get to this recovery point, and let's say we're back to our car where we parked. That's what we said we were leaving the car, right? So we're going to go down here and we're going to hold in cancel recovery. And again, you have to hold it on purpose to make it do what you want. And then you're going to verify cancel. Boom. Now you're out of emergency recovery, and now you're back in a normal setting on your phone. And then whoever you have set up on your emergency contacts is going to receive a notification that you've canceled your emergency, and it'll give them the information of where you were. So at least know that you canceled your emergency, and that gives them something that they can tell personnel, or they should be expecting a call from you soon or a text message to follow up. So that's the emergency recovery function of the app and how that works. I talked about the trip planner. I talked about team tracking momentarily, but that'll be another video. And okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is another key feature is going to be the alert status, or the alert, the way to alert others of hazards that are out in the backcountry. And for this, we're going to use the map because it's a bigger screen. It gives us more to work with. And we're going to get out here away from some stuff, and let's see. Okay, we got a body of water there and some fields and such, and we'll use that. And again, we'll go through these. So we're going to click the mark or the flag button. We know how to set a recovery point. So let's set a waypoint that we're going to go to. So again, we get a crosshair, and we're going to go to this big spot right here. And we're going to go down and we're going to confirm. And there's the waypoint. Now the good thing about the waypoint is it's a generic blue bullseye with a teardrop. And while we're on waypoints, let's go and let me show you how to edit the waypoint or the waypoints. And keep in mind that waypoints on your map, either map, you're the only person that can see those waypoints. I have a function that's going to come out later on where you can share the waypoints, but for now, anything that you have in a waypoint or you edit it to make it look like something is for you only, and that'll be key to remember in a moment when we start looking at animals and listening to animals on the screen. So there's the waypoint. We're going to go to the signpost, and here we go, waypoint. So there's the waypoint, so we're going to click that. And now here's a little map preview of where the waypoint is. And then here we can edit this, and we're going to call it, we'll say, okay, here we go. We'll make it a deer. Let's say we saw a deer there, and we list it as a waypoint, but we want to make it to where we know it's a deer. So we'll call it a deer. It's a marked point. There's the coordinates, and that'll show you in lat long or MGRS. And remember, we had MGRS up last, so that's what it's showing. Created. There it is, the time date. And for this, we're going to make it orange or amber, whatever you'd like to call it. And for now, it says default pin, but we are going to change that. And these are all the different things that you can make your waypoint look like. We said deer, so let's say, well, a white-tailed deer. Okay, so then we'll go down here, and we're going to hit done. And then if we click the map, let me hit done again. There we go. Okay, so now if you notice it says deer, and it has a deer icon, and if you click the map on the left, it'll take us out to it. And there is our deer icon now at that location, and it says deer. And so that's how you would make any types of waypoints and make it look like whatever you want. Now, here's the other thing. When you select the waypoint and it shows on the map, if you notice at the bottom what it shows here, it shows deer. It's 1.6 miles away to the west. And then you have a go-to function that we talked about earlier. So the app thinks if you're going to list a waypoint and go to it on the map, you may want to walk to it. So it gives you the opportunity to do that here. And I'll show you what that looks like. There it is. So now you're going to the deer. There it is. There's the distance. There's the grids again. And you can do one of two things. You can double click and go out to this, and it gives you the orange pointer to the point. It says deer, same information. Or you can double click, go back here, and let's say that you just decide you don't want to go there anymore. You just hold at the bottom, and there it is. It brings you back out here. And now you can do one of two things or three things. You can go to again and change your mind, you want to go back to it, or you can X here, or you can go to the top right, you can X there, so we'll just close it at the top. And there it is. Now we're back out to just the way you're centered up. And then there is the deer right there. And then I'll show you some other things. So we'll leave that there for reference point. Okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to show you how to do something else. And we've set a recovery point. We've done an add waypoint. I showed you how to edit that and where that goes. And next we're going to add an alert. Now, something to remember on an alert. Whatever you put down in an alert, and we'll just put it right here, and we'll hit confirm, and I'll show you the different alerts that you can put on there. Whatever you put in an alert, everybody that has the app that's in the vicinity is going to see that alert you put up. It takes anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute and a half for the server to refresh. So for this, let's say, we'll put an animal. So wildlife sighting. Okay, so I'm currently in South Carolina. There are no grizzly bears in South Carolina. There are no mountain lions. There are no pronghorn. There are no elk. Okay, fine. You can put whatever you want on your map as an alert. You can enter it. But the server knows what species are in which states, and it will not allow for the user to contaminate what everybody else is seeing. So you're not going to be able to put wolf or grizzly bear in South Carolina or Connecticut. You're not going to be able to put elk in southern Florida. The server won't allow that. Nobody wants to see that, okay? So let's put something that we know that is in South Carolina. And again, we'll use the white-tailed deer. And then it tells you white-tailed deer. There's the grid where it's going. And you hit submit. Reported. Okay, so it's not showing right now because the server has to recycle, okay? So we'll hold off. We'll come back to that in just a moment. We'll cover some of these other alerts. The other thing about an animal alert, when it does render, it's only good for about 30 minutes. And of course, animals move. And after about 30 minutes, the icon will go stale, change colors, and then it will disappear. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, what you can do to refresh that if, let's say, the herd of whatever is still in the area that you're in. But for now, we're going to add another alert. And for this, we'll say this road. We're going to hit confirm. We'll say it's a trail. Okay, so now it gives you all the conditions of the trail. Now, the important thing and what's good about this is whatever you report on the trail, whoever comes in behind you is going to be able to see that on their map when it pops up. So you can alert people to a downed tree, a washout, a water crossing. If there's ice that's dangerous, you can report it. So for now, let's just pick the downed tree. That seems to be a simple one. And trail alerts are going to render on the map for up to 36 hours. Okay, and there's a few things that you can do to extend that or change, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So submit, reported, thank you. Okay, now if you notice, our white-tailed deer is there now that we just added as an animal alert. So remember, everybody in the proximity is going to see this white-tailed deer. So let's say the person behind us comes along and they're like, oh, there's a white-tailed deer. Oh, there it is, I see it. So they can click on that. And there it is. It's going to come up and bring you up another window. There's a white-tailed deer. It was reported a minute ago. That's pretty quick. 3 kilometers away from where your user icon is. And it expires in 28 minutes. Okay, so if you look down here, no one's confirmed it. No one's denied it. So it's unverified, really. So what we're going to do is, then you come to the bottom, it says submitted by another user. Okay, and so we're going to confirm that it is there. Now, if you notice, you got 1 confirmed. You're going to go to done. And then it'll just make a stronger. So the next person comes by and says, well, 2 other people saw this. It's there. But let's say that somebody came along in a few minutes and they said, it's not there. So now you've got 1 denied. That's me doing it. That's why it shows 1 denied, 0 confirmed. That's why it shows that. And then we'll hit done. And in a few minutes, this will go half intensity and it'll become stale. Okay, so that's how you do the alerts for animals and trail. Wait for the trail to come up here in a moment. And I'm wondering if the server is going to filter the trail out because it's a hardball road or a highway there. It may know that there's not a tree across it. We'll see what happens. But there's some filters built into the app, so I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out. So we'll go back, and then you can add alert, and we're here. So we'll say it's a weather alert or weather hazard. And then these are the different weather hazards that you can select. For this one here, lightning is not going to show, so we'll say it's foggy today. And then we'll hit submit. And then OK. Okay. And so there it is. Okay, so if you notice, I just changed the zoom on the screen and the down tree showed up on the map. So we'll click that. And here it is. It was reported a minute ago by another user. It expires in 36 hours, basically 3.5 kilometers away. And you can confirm or deny. We talked about that. So we're going to deny because it's probably down the road. And this is really hooked into the server, so I don't want to mess up the numbers or anything on that. Okay, so there's that. So that's how you add your different hazards to the map. And if you notice, the hazards are all in amber color. Think of a caution sign or something. You cannot change the colors of these icons when you enter them as an alert. But what I will tell you is, if you're moving along and you're on the home page and you have this up, it will change colors, and you'll get red, you can get yellow or amber, and then you can get blue. So we got an advisory popped up. So I'm in South Carolina. If you notice, it says lightning within 50 miles, 4 flashes. So we're going to double click that. And if you notice, it's listed under the all, but we're going to go over to the weather just to show you how that works. So there it is, lightning within 50 miles in the past 30 minutes, 4 flashes. So let's click that. And now there's an expanded version of the lightning and some information about it. And you can read it within 8 miles in the last 5 minutes. Nothing's within 8 miles or 20, but within 50, we've had 4 lightning strikes in 30 minutes. And if you notice here, it says it's 51 seconds old live. So it's a pretty accurate and pretty current lightning data. And what will happen is, once you get to a position or in a position that you have lightning that's moving towards you, or the thunderstorm is spreading out, becoming stagnant, you'll get an increasing alert, and it could become red because you have lightning impending coming to you. And then when you open up that lightning warning being red, it'll tell you to move to shelter, stay out of the open, and wait for the lightning to pass. It gives you some general rules that comes off the National Weather Service site for different weather phenomena and things like that. Which brings me to the next point, animal predictability. The server has the capability of predicting where animals may or may not be. Currently, that ability is in Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah. Montana is coming out next, probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and that'll be 4 full states. And it'll actually show you, hey, grizzly bear is there, and or not, or it should be, or it may be there based on all the conditions. And there's a whole lot of thousands of data points and human friction points that it's showing that'll help you make that decision. And then, for instance, if it says, hey, there's a grizzly bear there because you're in Yellowstone, it'll give you some advice. It'll say, step away, back off, make a bunch of noise, let it know that you're there, back off slowly, don't turn your back. If you have bear spray, prepare to use it if that's what you have with you. Just some general safety things. It will even go so far as to give you an alert of a cow moose or a mother moose with its calf, because those can be pretty dangerous, and give you some notifications, and things like that. So we'll go back to map function. And if you notice, the fog did pop up. Okay, so some weather phenomena does, some does not. Fog does. And there it is. 1 minute ago, expires in 30 minutes, and we're going to deny it because there's no fog here tonight. And we'll hit done. Another thing that's built into the server is that, let's say that you're a user and you decide that you just want to give everybody a hard time, and you're messing with people, and you start clicking and saying, hey, there's lightning here and snow here, and there's this here and there's that there. So what will happen is you'll get to where you can't post things, or the server will really, really restrict you from adding and spamming up what everybody else is seeing. So it's important that you're serious about the things that you report. And probably what's coming later, there will be a report user for falsifying information. If you know somebody's doing something, they're falsifying or falsely reporting something, you'll be able to report it. We can go dig into the server, and then we can make the determination if somebody's just really not doing what the app is meant to do. So that's it. So I've covered the general orientation of the app. I've also talked about user settings tonight. I've gone through the buttons at the bottom. I've talked to you about the emergency recovery function. I've talked to you about the trip planner and the equipment list function. And then we talked about how to add hazards and alerts and some of the nuances that go with it. I will be making a separate video probably sooner than later on the team member management and how that looks. So that's it for the night. So I really appreciate everybody coming on board and listening to me and watching the video of what I've got showing. I hope it's been helpful. Again, if you have questions or comments or suggestions, please email them to me. That's admin@apexarsystems.com. If you like our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. And our goal is to give you the best product we can in the shortest amount of time. So make those suggestions, and if they're good suggestions and they don't interfere with the safety to others, then more than likely we'll try to get them implemented in relatively quick fashion. So again, that's Apex Scout. We hope that you enjoy the app. We put a lot of work into it. Ashley and I have put a lot of thought and a lot of effort. And thanks for joining me. And until next time, be safe out there, and I will see you on the trail.